Well, good evening and thank you for once again joining us for another edition of Channel One Weekend with me, Richard Munga, where we get to update you on the latest in the world of news, politics, sporting matters, international news. We've got it all here on Channel One News. And our sign language interpreter this night is Byron Abuli. We have a lot in store for you, but before we go ahead to the main news, let's have a look at what you should expect from Channel One Weekend.
The discussion and the conversation and the debate must change. It cannot continue to be about the leaders of Kenya, their positions, their interests, their issues. It must be about the 47 million of us.
DP Ruto takes on politicians propagating selfish interests as ODM leader Raila Odinga keeps the BBI debate raging in the coast region.
We have decided that we are not going to entertain cases of misappropriation of public funds. And if there is any other governor who will also be taken to court after investigation and charged and barred from office, he will face the same fate as Obado.
ODM's extraordinary delegates convention resolves to have Obado impeached on Tuesday.
Kufika tarehe 17 kabla tujapata pesa, kama tutakuwa tumepata pesa, tutafunga kaunti zote.
And the Council of Governors tells senators they have until Thursday to find a formula for counties to operate. Once again, thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of Channel One Weekend. Now, on to a top story whereby Deputy President William Ruto is calling on political leaders to focus more on pressing issues affecting Kenyans instead of pursuing their own interests. Addressing members of the African Church of the Holy Spirit at his Sugoi home in Uasin Gishu County, Ruto said the current debate should be about priority issues affecting Kenyans other than those beneficial to leaders.
Deputy President William Ruto hosted members of the African Church of Holy Spirit and a section of MPs from the Western region at his Sugoi home, where they reflected on the current politics. The Deputy President calling on politicians to prioritize issues affecting Kenyans in their political discourse.
The discussion and the conversation and the debate must change. It cannot continue to be about the leaders of Kenya, their positions, their interests, their issues. It must be about the 47 million of us, the 6 million young people who today are languishing because they don't have jobs, the 17 million Kenyans who live below the poverty line. How we will change Kenya so that it benefits the majority and not the few.
The MPs present told of leaders opposed to the Deputy President's church donations, saying issues which do not concern them should not bother them.
Wale wengine wenye wanaongea kule, wacha waongee. Mwenye anasema kwamba kwa nini anasaidia watoto ya maskini, bodaboda, wanaletewa bodaboda ya kuendesha, wanaletewa wilbaro ya kufanya kazi zao. Wenye wanaongea hayo, wacha waongee.
ODM leader Raila Odinga was in Mombasa County, drumming up support for the BBI. Raila reiterating that the initiative was for Kenyans but not for few individuals, as its detractors claim.
Kuna wengine wako ndani ya serikali na wakizuru wanakosoa serikali. Wako ndani ya serikali na pande hii ile wanatoa pingamizi kwa hiyo serikali. Wale ambao wako ndani ya serikali, wakaa ndani ya serikali, wewe umekaa miaka 8 ndani ya serikali, unajua kwamba kuna ukosefu wa kazi, unajua kwamba vijana wanateseka, unajua kwamba kina mama wana shida. Sasa umebaki na miaka 2 utoke, unaanza sasa kuleta mabaiskeli, kuleta masiji pikipiki, kupenda zima wheelbarrow, sikuveni miaka 7 hizo iliyopita walikuwa wapi?
In Vihiga County, Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi led other Western Kenya leaders in calling for political tone down in the country. Speaking during the burial of the Church of God East Africa Bishop Dr. Baira Makoha, the leaders rooted for Molembe unity ahead of 2022 general elections.
Ndugu na dada, ile serikali itakuja, ni lazima waweke resuscitation, kufufua uchumi mbele. Tusipofanya hivyo tutakuwa na shida.
Lazima tuweke tofauti zetu kando, mambo ya siasa, tuje pamoja tuweze kufanya kazi pamoja. Na tutaendelea na hiyo juhudi ya kuunganisha jamii na kuunganisha taifa la Kenya ili tuweze kwenda mbele pamoja.
Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Meanwhile, the political future of OBADO as Migori governor is in the balance following an ODM extraordinary delegates convention that unanimously resolved to have him removed from office. Led by ODM party chairman John Mbadi, the delegates found the governor unfit to hold office after he was charged alongside his family with embezzlement of county funds. Mbadi says his planned impeachment next week had received the blessing of party leader Raila Odinga. Achola Simon with that report.
Saturday morning in Migori County, there was heavy police presence as ODM delegates and elected party leaders from the county began streaming into the Maranatha Faith Center as early as 8 a.m. The police and private security firms' presence at the venue of the extraordinary delegates convention kept off any real or imagined opposition of the day's main agenda. At around 1 p.m., ODM's chairman John Mbadi arrived accompanied by Migori Senator Ochilo Ayako and other elected leaders. This would signal the start of a process that is ostensibly aimed at sealing the fate of Zachary Okoth Obado as Migori County Governor. It is here that the delegates unanimously resolved to push forward with an impeachment motion against Obado, which is expected to be tabled on Tuesday in the County Assembly.
Kuria West kesho tunapiga hiyo mjamaa teke ambayo haiwezekani, ambayo hatarudia, ama atuambie kana kwa ana kwamba nimerudi, nimepiga magoti na watu wa bija nitawaita mimi.
We are Migori and Migori is our business. Iko watu wengine wanakuja kuwadanganya kutoka sijui. Migori is our business. Na tuko na marafiki ambao wanataka kutusaidia kama Migori.
And the future of devolution is dependent upon how you are committed to ensuring that public resources are utilized.
We have resolved that the impeachment of Governor Zachary Okoth Obado of Migori County should go on as directed by the National Party leadership.
Mbadi says the party will not tolerate any corrupt individuals, especially those tasked with critical positions.
We have decided that we are not going to entertain cases of misappropriation of public funds. And if there is any other governor who will also be taken to court after investigation and charged and barred from office, he will face the same fate as Obado.
He said the impeachment of Obado had the blessing of the top party organs, including the party boss Raila Odinga.
ODM of Raila Amolo Odinga, and the cardinal is John Mbadi Munga. This cardinal has said that the party has decided that we impeach Obado, and the Pope of the party has not said no. It means the entire party hierarchy has agreed to that.
Mbadi dismissed claims that the party had a personal vendetta against the governor, arguing no other governor elected on an ODM ticket had been charged with graft of such high amount, nor barred from accessing the office by the courts.
The governor Ojamong was not barred from holding office. And again, if you look at the case that is confronting Ojamong, you can't compare it to the case that Obado is facing. Ojamong is facing a case of a procurement procedure for 8 million. So comparatively, it is not the same thing as the case that is confronting Obado.
Focus now shifts to the county assembly to see if it will execute the resolutions passed at the convention. Achola Simon, reporting for Channel One Weekend from Migori County.
And members of parliament allied to Kieleweke faction wants the church deceased from instilling fear among Kenyans after a section of the clergy offered to mediate peace talks to end the ongoing political antagonism. The MPs claim the country is not in any crisis and urge their counterparts in the Jubilee Party to tone down on their uncensored utterances, which they claim are likely to fuel ethnic animosity as well as divisions among the population.
A section of MPs from the Orange Democratic Movement and the ruling Jubilee Party held closed-door deliberations for the better part of Saturday afternoon. And after emerging from the meeting, the pro-handshake team faulted the clergy for claiming that the country was in a political crisis that necessitated mediation from men of the cloth.
I've also heard the church saying that they want to reconcile people. There is no crisis in this country that requires any reconciliation. This country is united under the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Sasa tunataka nchi iendelee kwa utulivu na amani na Wakenya wawe pamoja katika spirit ya handshake na BBI. Asanteni.
The MPs took issue with a section of their colleagues for allegedly laying grounds for disaster by spewing hate speech remarks.
We have decided that we are going to take our position and ensure that we set the record straight. There's a small team of people who are stuck on 2022 elections. They have decided that if they don't become a president, it is a crisis. That if they don't get supported by other members of parliament or by the president, it is a crisis. We want to say that this is not the time to even be having that conversation. To
the deputy president to stop sending conflicting messages from himself and his lieutenants. When 7 days ago, the former leader of majority in the Senate said he has no confidence in the president. So these things are choreographed, and we know they are never accidental. This must be stopped.
We should stop politicking this early, go back and work for our nation, and I believe if you go that direction, we'll be blessed as a nation. But if we continue to do what we are doing right now, confusing people in this land of ours, it is very wrong. And especially indoctrinating our young people to think what they are not, and we are forcing them to be what they are not.
The pro-handshake team claims today's meeting marks the beginning of their meetings that will see the country on a united path as envisaged in the BBI report. For Channel One News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Also, governors have warned counties will shut down beginning Thursday next week owing to lack of funds if the Senate does not resolve the county revenue sharing stalemate. The Council of Governors Chair, Wycliffe Oparanya, is warning funds have run out and they will not be able to continue with operations. This comes as the bicameral parliament is set to debate amendments to the Division of Revenue Act on Tuesday to allow counties access 50% of the equitable share revenue as the crisis deepens.
With the failure by the Senate to agree on county allocation revenue formula despite 10 attempts, governors are warning services that the county could come to a complete shutdown on the 17th of this month. Oparanya says county services had been at a standstill as debate rages on the third-generation revenue-sharing formula. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi cautioning if the revenue-sharing stalemate is not resolved in time, it shall reverse the gains achieved by devolution.
Kufika tarehe 17 kabla tujapata pesa, kama tutakuwa tumepata pesa, tutafunga kaunti zote, kwa sababu tangu Julai kufika saa hii tujapata pesa yoyote kulingana na katiba yetu.
Na unaona vile nchi yake iliisha.
In the meantime, Busia Governor Sospita Ojamong is also demanding National Treasury disburses funds to counties in time to ensure uninterrupted services. He said the county governments are only left with funds to pay county staff this month before their coffers run dry.
Mwezi nitawalipa tu net salary. Hiyo ingine kama itakuja tutakanja, hakuna kitu tutafanya. So hii mwezi mimi nitapiga kini niangalie maneno yenu, lakini from October onwards kama tutapata pesa sasa tutarudi tu nyumbani tukae. pia mahospitali tutafunga, kwa sababu faida gani ufungue hospitali ulipi daktari, ulipi nurse, ununui madawa, huwezi kupatia wagonjwa chakula? Iko faida kweli?
The National Assembly and the Senate will on Tuesday debate an amendment to have counties draw 50% of the equitable share revenue from the government coffers. Meanwhile, Vihiga Senator George Khaniri has lashed out a move by Kisumu County government to upgrade Maseno to a town. Khaniri is warning the matter is currently before Senate as the location of the town remains an unresolved dispute between Kisumu and Vihiga.
We don't want anybody to tamper with the boundary of Maseno until that bill is passed. Na tuweka commission ambayo itasema ukweli Maseno belongs to who.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Channel 1 News.
Now, the weekend kicked off to political grandstanding, theatrics and drama as politicians engaged in, or they do best. A Gembe South area member of parliament who on Friday was forced to scamper for safety from his irate constituents came out to defend himself, blaming his political detractors for his woes. Safin Achieng Oma with details of a day in politics in the characteristic Kenyan style.
These were the scenes on Friday in Meru County. A development meeting led by Agriculture CS Peter Munga to encourage farmers in Igembe to engage in sunflower farming would turn out not to be so rosy. The presence of the area MP John Paul Mwirigi would arc the crowd and scuttle the meeting. The MP would today accuse his political detractors of a smear campaign, insisting he had an invitation to the meeting.
Nimesema mara si moja. Wananchi wa Igembe kile kitu ambacho wanataka ni maendeleo. Na ndio maana nilisema kila kiongozi ako na haki yake na anafaa kupewa heshima. Na ndio maana mimi nilikuja huo mkutano sababu nilikuwa nimeitwa kwa huo mkutano.
It was a similar script but a different cast in Kitui County. A meeting led by Kitui East MP Nimrod Mbai would end in running battles. The MP and his brigade would first make a stop at Madhima Market in Kitui South. Moments before they began to address the residents, they were joined by uninvited guests. Anti-riot police officers demanding that the political meeting be called off immediately. Attempts by the legislators to plead with the officers ended in tears as they lobbed tear gas canisters at the growing crowd, effectively ending the campaign rally before it even began. The officers escorted the lawmakers and their handlers into their cars and out of Kitui South constituency. Unbowed, the MPs attempted to make other stopovers but were treated to the same fate. The legislators had no option but to call it a day, blaming the fracas on their opponents.
The meetings were very peaceful. The meeting had no sinister motives. Sijalewa, wabunge wane ambao tunaeleweka na ni watu tunafanya kazi kiwazi. Unashangaa yote imetoka wapi?
We think this is a part of the larger scheme to continue intimidating and frustrating that cause of Deputy President. Those politicians who are thinking that they are going to get away with that, then they should brace for tougher times.
More drama was witnessed in Uasin Gishu County at the home of Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi. Police officers who were en route to arrest him on Friday night had to first put their guns and opt for machetes to literally clear the path. However, by the time they were done, their target was long gone, managing to escape as they were kept busy by the branches. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Achieng Oma.
Political reality show, more like keeping up with Kenyan politicians. And of course, that drama unfolding right there brings us to the fast break of Channel One Weekend tonight. But always remember that you can follow up on more stories on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. And you can also give us your feedback on the news via our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter at KBC Channel One. And my personal Twitter handle is at Munga_Mbatia. See you shortly.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola, taste the simple joys.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Kwenye mkulima tuna kipindi kizuri haswa kwa vijana na watoto wa shule.
I also want to engage my classmates and also my friends who I have, and I want them to see that this is important. In fact, when I'm planting those crops, it makes me feel good.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1. Uone jinsi vijana wenzako wanavyotumia msimu wa corona kwa njia mwafaka.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Unaona ile mikutano nimetembea na wewe kwa vijana? Nimeona potential yako. Na badala ningoje aibu, that's why nimeamua ubakie kuwa deputy governor, mimi ndo nitasimama na mzee Alfani.
Hiyo haitawezekana.
No, it will never happen. I will never compromise. Ngoja aje hapa. Over my dead body.
Welcome back. Now moving on to other matters. Kenya's coronavirus burden rose to 35,969 cases after 176 cases were confirmed on Saturday from a sample size of 4,115. 329 new coronavirus recoveries, and an additional 3 fatalities were also reported. The number of fatalities from COVID-19 now stands at 619. Nancy Okware with the latest figures from the Ministry of Health.
Kenya's coronavirus burden remains on an upward trend, with the positivity rate standing at 4.3% today. The total number of confirmed cases in Kenya reached 35,969 Saturday, according to data from the Ministry of Health. Out of the new cases, 132 are male and 44 female, with the youngest being a 3-month-old infant, while the oldest is 78 years. The country further registered 329 recoveries, out of which 43 were from the home-based care program and 286 from the various hospitals across the country. The total of those who have recovered has increased to 22,771. However, the number of fatalities rose to 619 after 3 more patients succumbed to the contagion. Nairobi accounted for the highest number of cases recorded over the last 24 hours, standing at 32, followed by Nakuru with 29, Mombasa 22, Kajiado 14, Kisii 9, Kiambu 7, while Garissa, Nyeri, Migori, Kisumu and Vihiga each had 6 cases. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
The National Environmental Complaints Committee has raised an alert of a massive pollution of 3 flooded lakes in Rift Valley. The committee identified Lake Nakuru, Lake Naivasha and Lake Elementaita as the most affected, following the sharp rise in water levels, adding that if the pollution persisted, then it will have adverse effects on the lake's ecosystem.
In the last couple of months, water levels in all the lakes in Rift Valley have risen sharply, submerging farms, hotels and nearby settlements. Some of the water bodies affected include Lake Nakuru, Naivasha and Elementaita. However, the National Environmental Complaints Committee is concerned following pollution of the lakes. The committee's secretary, Dr. John Chumo, noted that effluent from nearby estates was easily finding its way into the lakes, a situation threatening to have negative effects on the lake's ecosystem in the coming days.
Most of the illegal structures and all other developments that have been put across the lake, they have actually been releasing or also discharging effluent into the lake. And therefore, even the quality of the water that we are actually seeing, whether it's in Lake Nakuru, Lake Naivasha, or Lake Elementaita, as an issue, because I am sure the issue of the levels of E. coli, or for example, the turbidity of that water is so high.
Chumo at the same time noted that wildlife corridors around the lakes had been closed, leading to an increase in cases of human-wildlife conflict, something he attributed to encroachment of riparian land. He, however, warned that this should be addressed and the water boundaries reviewed once the water levels dropped.
The level of water yesterday is different from what it is today in terms of upward increment, and therefore in the next, maybe if it continues like this with the rains that we are actually experiencing around, then the danger of all this place being marooned and affecting the people will be realized.
A boat operator in Lake Naivasha, Ben Teke, said that with the rise in water levels, many small-scale traders had lost their source of income.
So the water is trying to cover its previous origin. Juu kitambo kifuata maji kitambo ilikuwa pale Panorama. Unaona? So maji yakapungua yakarudi mpaka huko. So sahi maji nataka kurudi mahali ilikuwa. Mimi watoto wangu wanategemea hapa. Hii maji venye nakuja hakuna mtu affect hata mpaka mwenye land. Lakini na sisi naye wale wakulima wadogo, watu nasema wakulima wadogo tuko affected.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Now let's move on to Baringo County, whereby patients in public health facilities were Saturday forced to throng private hospitals as the health workers' strike entered its third day. Private hospitals say they are beginning to register high numbers amid calls for the county government to resolve the stalemate to end the suffering of the patients.
With operations in Baringo County Referral Hospital crippled, residents have now been forced to seek medical attention at private hospitals. The industrial action has seen patients, especially expectant mothers, flock private facilities in Eldama Ravine for medical assistance.
Right now we are getting more than the anticipated numbers of the clients that we normally have. Most of the patients are coming from very far, not our catchment area. We are receiving patients as far as Marigat, Kabarnet, Londiani, and even Kamara, that is in Nakuru County.
Monica Barcoton narrates her family's ordeal as they sought medical assistance during this period.
Piga simu nyumbani tukaambia tumerudishwa. Sasa wakasema muende tu. Wakatutumanishia transport. Tulitumia pesa mingi sana. Hata nimeamua niwache huyo anetoroka au nifanye nini kwa sababu imekuwa ni shida sana.
Emma Koech, a matron at one of the private facilities, says the number of patients seeking help at the hospitals is overwhelming and they have been forced to recall their staff to assist in the maternity wing.
Most of our staff, they don't have time to break because they have to give the services to the patients who are coming for the services in the hospital.
The affected patients and their families are pleading with the government to come up with a lasting solution to end the stalemate.
We just appeal for the government to hear the paramedics' cry, and this strike should end as possible so that at least the patients will be given attention to wherever they come from, other than traveling very far.
The health workers down their tools on Wednesday, demanding to be promoted, redesignated, confirmed in employment, and be provided with PPEs. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Now, as schools remain closed due to the coronavirus pandemic, health practitioners and retired teachers in Bahati constituency Nakuru are bringing together children in life skills training to help avert delinquency and teenage pregnancies. The tutors, who have volunteered their time as well as resources, are now reaching out to boys and girls across 5 wards in the county with various skills to enable the rather vulnerable participants steer clear of vices associated with bad influences as well as idleness.
Over 120 boys and girls have been engaging in various activities, including cookery, farming, knitting, painting, and dancing. The children have also been learning how to grow vegetables and make snacks for sale and then save the profit for buying basic provisions like books, pens and sanitary towels for girls courtesy of the youth-friendly program. 13-year-old Mary Mwangi and 14-year-old Leonard Ndongo say they could not afford to enroll in a daily virtual classroom, making them stay idle and vulnerable. But the new development has awakened a new perspective in them.
Wametusaidia vitu nyingi, walimu wengine ni madaktari, so wamekuwa wakitufunza story na health, STIs, hygiene, story na corona, kila kitu.
Hapa tumefunzwa kupika, kushona mats, na tumesaidika. Itatusaidia pia sisi. Pale hivyo tutaenda kufunza wengine wenye bado hawaja join.
The program's coordinator Ann Kago says the new coronavirus has put a strain on heads of households and many are preoccupied with seeking incomes at the expense of their children.
Tulianza tukiwa kama youth friendly ambaye tuliona vile tunaweza saidiana, tukusanyike, tuweza kurudisha hawa wana youth wetu pamoja, tuwasaidie kwa sababu during the COVID-19 period mashule zikafungwa, wote wakawa nyumbani, most of them wakawa idle, wanarandaranda ama wanatembea pale mitaani na wakakuwa wameanza kuji-indulge in negative activities.
The family health specialist says in the last 6 months, cases of defilement, teenage pregnancies, sexual transmitted diseases and use of recreational drugs and substances have increased among teenagers.
Na tunawapatia mpaka health trainings ambazo tukiwafunza wakirudi kwao pale shuleni, wenye wako katika institutions, wenye wako katika high school, wenye wako katika primary schools, wataanza kusaidia wengine ambao hawakuweza kubenefit kukuja kwa program kama hii.
Mary Sylvia, a retired teacher, notes that the initiative will enable vulnerable girls learn how to make cookies for sale, make, use and even sell reusable sanitary towels for their basic provisions.
We would wish them well, especially respecting themselves and knowing that even if they don't have pads for the girls, they can do something little with a packet of flour, sell and buy pads, not to expose themselves to very risky places just because of a pad.
Beatrice Getonyang-Etich, Channel 1 News.
Now, a former ramp attendant with the local airline is demanding for justice following an accident that left him permanently disabled 22 years ago. Jonathan Kahindi Suleiman, a former employee at the defunct Air Kenya Aviation Company Limited, now known as Air Kenya Express, says he was hit by an aircraft propeller while on duty back in June 12, 1998, but is yet to be compensated.
June 12, 1998, a day that will forever remain in the memories of Jonathan Kahindi Suleiman, a resident of Mabirikani in the outskirts of Malindi town. It was while working for the defunct Air Kenya Aviation Company Limited, now rebranded to Air Kenya Express, that Jonathan was hit on the head by an aircraft propeller in an accident that left him permanently disabled.
Kazi yangu mimi ndo nilikuwa nikishughulikia kutoa mizigo na kuweka mizigo kwa ndege. Na hiyo siku ilikuwa ni siku ya Ijumaa usiku wa saa 2 ndio iliokuwa hiyo ajali. Ajali hiyo ilipotukia, nilipogongwa na hiyo propeller, sikujijua tena.
Soon after the accident, Jonathan was rushed to the hospital and was given first aid before being admitted for about 1 month.
Na nilipelekwa hospitali Galana Hospital. Kama nilivyosikia wakati huo nilikuwa ndo ninajijua, na daktari wakafanya first aid pale na wakanikapelekwa Pandya Memorial Hospital Mombasa. Na nilikuwa kule kwa ICU wiki 2. Nilipotoka ICU ndo nikaenda ward. Niliingia tarehe 12 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 98 na nikatoka tarehe 7.
Things got worse for Jonathan when he was discharged from hospital as his quest for compensation yielded a paltry 140,400 shillings from the company he was working with.
Walikuwa wameshaandika tayari barua ya kwamba maelewano ya mimi na wao kwamba hiyo cheki ni hiyo, hakuna pesa ingine nitadai wala mtu yote kutoka kwa familia yangu kudai. Cheki yenyewe ilikuwa imeletwa shilingi 140,000 na shilingi 400.
Jonathan got sacked 3 years later. Disabled and with no means of a livelihood, his wife fled, leaving him with 9 children to fend for. In court documents, Jonathan had sued his former employer, accusing the company of failing to take all precautions to ensure all employees were working in a safe and secure environment. The company, in its defense, absolved itself from blame, saying if at all the accident occurred, it was wholly caused or substantially contributed by Jonathan's own negligence. Jonathan's 22-year journey in search for justice has added on to his agony. He still believes he did not get adequate compensation for the injuries he suffered and is appealing to human rights groups, the Commission on Administration of Justice, and anyone who would be touched by his plight to come to his aid and assist him get justice.
Haya maumbile niliyoko nayo saa hii sivyo nilivyokuwa tangu hapo. Kupata hii ajali ndio naanza kutoka hizi mambo zote kwa mwili wangu. Kwa hiyo kusema ukweli sina maisha mazuri. Naomba usaidizi na naomba haki yangu nipate.
Ukiangalia kibarua ndio hicho, ni kama kinaenda hakiendi. Mpaka mwisho wake kimekatika, yuko hapa na anaendelea kuugua. Familia sasa, nyumba ni 2, yangu na yake. Nikijipanga huku na 2,000 inabidi kwake pia hivyo nijigawanye katikati.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
Quite unfortunate indeed. Now, Mexico's death toll passed 70,000 as a new study showed England's coronavirus case count was doubling every 7 to 8 days. Canada, meanwhile, reported 0 COVID-19 deaths for the first time since March. More than 28.6 million people around the world have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, and more than 919,000 have died, according to Johns Hopkins University.
The confirmed coronavirus death toll in Mexico has surpassed 70,000 after the government reported 534 new deaths in the past 24 hours. This, as a study of coronavirus infection in England showed that the epidemic is doubling every 7 to 8 days, with an increase in positive cases in all age groups below the age of 65. Meanwhile, Canada reported 0 COVID-19 deaths in the past 24 hours for the first time since March 15th, according to the Public Health Agency data. India, on the other hand, reported a record daily jump in coronavirus cases for a second consecutive day, logging 97,570 new infections, according to data from the Federal Health Ministry. With total cases of more than 4.65 million, India is the world's second worst affected country, trailing only behind the United States, which has more than 6.6 million cases. And deaths related to the novel coronavirus in Australia reached 803, but new daily infections in the country's largest hotspot of Victoria continued to fall. Elsewhere, the United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly approved a resolution on tackling COVID-19, calling for intensified international cooperation and solidarity to contain, mitigate, and overcome the pandemic. Globally, over 20 million people have recovered from the disease. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Now, the Kenya Forest Service is seeking to recruit over 3,000 employees to fill vacant positions and allow proper management of the natural resources in the country. According to KFS Chairman Peter Kenywa, they require at least 11,000 employees for proper management of the forests, but are currently working with only 4,000 staff. More details of that and more in the county briefs.
Forest Service Chairman Peter Kenywa says that with an aging staff who are due for retire, there is need to employ more rangers and scouts to man the forests. Kenywa, who was at Mukogoto Forest in Laikipia, says the moratorium imposed on forests will boost the country's forest cover, hence the need for expertise in management.
We have a mandate to try and
produce or have 10% tree cover by the year 2022, and this is one of the ways we can achieve this.
And the Ministry of Water and Sanitation is set to launch a new sewage line in Kikuyu, Kiambu County. The 600 million shillings project will ensure several tons of clean drinking water and good management of western sewage. Water Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki warned contractors to complete the projects within the stipulated period.
Unaangalia mambo ya kuchukua maji taka na kuelekeza Ruai. Ni mradi pia ambao unaleta maji safi kwa wakaaji hapa. Tumechukulia kama serikali kuu miradi kama hii ndio itafanya cities and our urban centers zipanuke na watu waweze kuishi na heshima, tukiangalia kwamba mambo ya kufikishia watu maji safi na pia kuweka mazingira yetu safi ni mojawapo ya matakwa na mapendekezo ya Mheshimiwa Rais, na kwa hivyo tumeweka hii miradi kwa tauni 60.
The Ogie community is demanding that government implements the ruling by the African Court of Justice in Tanzania, which okayed them to return to their original land in East Mau. Led by their chairman Francis Maritim, the community faulted the Kenya Forest Service of dragging its feet in implementation.
Last 2 weeks ambaye tuliongea na KFS EC wa Kericho County, akatuongelesha kwa umakini sana, na yale aliongea tunaona kidogo yeye ana makosa, kwa sababu amri na kutoka kule juu. Kule chini humu mashinani tuko naye vizuri, anatuelewa, anatusaa vizuri, mambo ya service anatupea vilivyo.
And the government has set aside 2.2 billion shillings as part of compensation for individuals affected by Phase 2 of Karimenu 2 water dam project in Gatundu North, Kiambu County. Water Principal Secretary Joseph Wairagu says the government has already requisitioned funds through the National Lands Commission.
Been facilitating this job. Of course, you know, we have to seek for tax exemption, which are now all issued. We have the necessary budgets. We all have adequate budget.
Finally, Muslim faithful in Nyali, Mombasa have vowed to complete construction of a controversial mosque and madrasa complex at Mwembe Legeza Kanzadani ward. They say the construction, which was halted, will resume with funding from local donors.
Kesho inshallah taala jamaa tuko hapa asubuhi na mafundi wetu. Tutajenga Baitullah. Hatutamruhusu Ali jicho la hasidi avunje msikiti hapa. Kama atakavunja msikiti yeye, aenda kwenye mwaga na Isiolo. Hapa kuta hatutaki msikiti.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Now, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Mombasa-based reporter Junaid Karisa tied the knot, the dream partner Patrick Mbele, in a colorful ceremony held at Bahari Gates Mtwapa in Mombasa County. It was a day full of love and joy as the two lovebirds bid goodbye to singlehood as they joined the married club. The couple's big day was attended by family, friends and colleagues. From KBC, we wish Junaid and Patrick a happy marriage.
Hebu tusikie vile Juna atamkaribisha bebi wake. Oh, that's great.
National Executive Committee Nairobi branch aspirant Tom Alila has urged the Football Kenya Federation Electoral Board to be impartial ahead of next week's FKF county elections, which will culminate in the national elections come 17th October. The previous two exercises were nullified by the Sports Disputes Tribunal SDT Chairman John Ohaga, ruling that the rules of engagement were flouted on both occasions. Tom Alila, who is hopeful of being elected to the National Executive Committee in Nairobi branch, says the electoral body under the leadership of Kenta Estikolo should move with speed and convene a meeting with all candidates to quell rumors of election rigging.
We have agreed to write to electoral board to set this meeting so that we can agree on the parameters on how elections are going to be done. In issues of security, their security, and also security of delegates coming to vote. This is very important. We know there are thugs in Nairobi that normally are hired by one of the people we are standing with in Nairobi here to micromanage election or to intimidate even the branch, the delegates. We are not going to allow that. And if it happens, and if we get we get a wind that this is going to happen, we will go to court and stop the elections before even it takes place.
The former North Nyanza NEC member says he backed off the presidential race but can still serve better as the Nairobi NEC member.
So we've been moving around trying to talk to, especially now clubs, Kenya Premier League clubs, NSL, because now the elections are going to be done in the branches, which is starting next week. The way I'd said even when I was running for president, first of all is football development. That's what is needed in Nairobi. Proper refereeing, which has been really been a problem in Nairobi. That's why they got dissatisfied by the people who are at the office. They used to micromanage the teams they don't like, who doesn't support them. They don't see the light of day. We need to bring sanity in the leagues.
This comes a day after the board published a list of all cleared candidates who will be vying for various posts in the forthcoming elections. Meanwhile, the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Sports Ministry says the government is keen on working with whoever is elected as FKF's president and is confident the elections will follow strict adherence to the rules.
The ministry, of course, has a mandate to step in and give direction if things go out of hand. It's not yet reached there, and we look forward to a credible election in the FKF. Of course, we are interested parties, but we don't want to get involved fully in the election process. However, we want the best to come out of this process, because football, again, is really at the heart of all the youth in this country.
The Sports Disputes Tribunal has already nullified the elections twice, last December and March this year, with SDT Chairman John Ohaga ruling that the rules of engagement were flouted on both occasions. Meanwhile, newly appointed National Rugby Sevens head coach Innocent Simiyu, popularly known as Namcos, says blending youth and experience is the only way to ensure that a proper structure is established to build a team for the years to come. Simiyu officially takes charge of Shujaa on 1st October and is expected to lead the team at next year's postponed Olympic Games as well as the forthcoming IRB circuit. Returning for his second stint to Shujaa, Innocent Simiyu, popularly known as Namcos, is keen on taking over from where he left off, having coached Shujaa in the 2016 and 2017 season.
We were putting the right structures, just seeing that some of those structures had been removed. So I think it's just an issue of national pride to just come back and put the team back on course. I think that is my duty. Perhaps there'll be others who will come and even do a better job, because I can only do my best right now in regards to just putting the right structures in terms of preparation of the team, having the best players, and also pushing the players to play a game that Kenyans love, a game that is Kenyan, and express Kenyan or sell Kenya at that international stage.
During his time as the head coach, Kenya Sevens finished 12th at the HSBC World Sevens Series with 63 points in 2017. They reached back-to-back finals at Vancouver and Hong Kong Sevens. Simiyu officially takes charge on 1st October and is expected to lead the national rugby team at next year's postponed Olympic Games, as well as the forthcoming IRB circuit, with the 2022 World Cup campaign being a major assignment lying ahead.
We are at a very bad situation where we are starting from, in regards that there were guidelines that were issued with the ministry in regards to resumption of sports. So we are waiting for KRU to also issue their guidelines in terms of resumption of team sports. But we are looking by 1st of October. Perhaps we'll start sending individualized programs to the players so that they can start working out before the team sessions begin. Because the key milestone in regards to our plan is if we have 90% of our players at a playing state.
Simiyu takes over from New Zealand Paul Finney, who was at the helm between September 2019 and June 2020, having qualified Shujaa to the postponed 2020 Olympic Games now set for 2021 due to the coronavirus pandemic. Finney also led Shujaa to a 12th position out of 15 core teams in the International Rugby Board circuit standings, whose last 4 legs in Hong Kong, Singapore, London and Paris were cancelled following the outbreak of the coronavirus. Now to international matters, whereby not the perfect start for defending champions as they aim to defend their title, but Liverpool were able to claim a 4-3 win against newly promoted Leeds United at Anfield, courtesy of a hat-trick by Mohamed Salah and a goal by Virgil van Dijk. Well, in another match, we had Arsenal starting off their campaign on a good note, 3-0 against Fulham, meaning that Arsenal are top of the table. Let's have a look at some of today's results as well as some fixtures from tomorrow. Now, elsewhere, world champion Lewis Hamilton took the honor of claiming the first Formula One pole position at Mugello as Team Mercedes kept Red Bull's Max Verstappen at bay in Tuscan GP qualifying. Valtteri Bottas had topped all 3 practice sessions and repeated that result in qualifying 1, but Hamilton yet again redeemed himself to bag his 95th career pole. Verstappen returned to his habitual 3rd place, having run Mercedes promisingly close in qualifying 2. Red Bull's race prospects would also be aided by Alex Albon, who took an important 4th in the sister car. Discounting grid penalties, it is the London-born Thai's driver's best qualifying result in 30 F1 appearances after some tough qualifying rounds this season. Well, thank you to those, of course, who followed up through Channel One Weekend, and for those who send their feedback via social media platforms. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through them all. But, of course, someone said that it might be the only time you'll hear someone say Arsenal is on top of the English Premier League table. All that, of course, brings us to the end of tonight's Channel One Weekend. But don't go too far as, well, Irene Muchuma-Odim is up next to the weather forecast. But in all, we would like to wish Junae and Patrick, who got married today, as well as our very own also Frederick Wangai and Jacqueline Minor, a happy marriage. Have a good night.
Hello there. Favorable weather conditions are expected for you in the capital. Sunday, maximum of 25 degrees Celsius. That will be ideal for you to spend the day outdoors. But tonight, most parts of the country have been covered with clear skies. save for a few areas over the Lake Basin region and western parts of the country where there are showers accompanied by thunderstorms. And these will change in the morning. The whole country will experience sunny conditions. There will be a bit of cloudiness in the counties at the coastal strip, the northeastern parts of the country. The northwestern will mainly experience sunny conditions, but there will be a bit of cloudiness in the county of Samburu. The capital will be sunny during the morning hours, including counties around the region. The Lake Basin region and western parts of the country will experience sunny conditions, and these will change during the afternoon hours. We'll see wet conditions in Kisii, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kitale, Eldoret. It will be sunny in the county of Narok, the northeastern parts of the country, and the coastal strip, as well as for you in Machakos, Makindu, Voi, and Taita Taveta. Expect sunny intervals to prevail. There will be wet conditions of a few places in the county of Samburu. These as mainly sunny intervals prevail in the county of Lodwar. Temperatures have slightly gone up. Mandera will experience the highest at 37 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 25 and lows of 13 degrees Celsius. And on that note, let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Do have a good night and see you tomorrow. God willing.